Hey there, everybody. It's your pal Chompadong, and we're coming at you with week 3 NFL box checkers video. We're going to trim the fat off of a player pool and put you on the historically correct place to focus on this week while we dig deeper into data and finalize our rosters. This is always just a first glance, first look at the slate. It's not even always completely comprehensive because some players aren't going to land on box checkers that at the end of the week we're going to be very, very high on. But it's a great way to start your research and start looking into the correct games that are going to go off and create all of that fantasy goodness. It's going to win you money. So let's dive in. After I tell you, of course, that I am brought to you by DFSArmy.com, one-stop shopping, all things daily fantasy sports. Every sport, every coach, every tool, everything unlocked when you use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 10% off discount. Click the like and subscribe button while you're down there looking for that link in the description of the video. And you can even comment on the video because I might even comment back. That said, follow me out on social media as well. And let's get into the particulars of using the tools over here at DFS Army, because the first stop I'm including now, like I said, the last few weeks we've gone through a little bit of a metamorphosis. We've gone through a little bit of a change, trying to kind of evolve with the industry. And one thing I'm really, really liking is targeting specific games for DFS on the weekly schedule. And this week we go into the Domination Station Optimizer and we take a look at the game board. What we're looking for is close spreads and high totals. Now we have some criteria. If you follow the Millie Maker article, the Shark Chronicles VIP article that everybody reads every week if you're a member of the DFS Army because it's just that good, you're finding that less than 7-point spreads are good for shootouts, duh, and higher than 46-point game totals are good for shootouts. When we find both, that combined we get the double green light, and that's a game we want to target. But those aren't the only games we want to target. Sometimes we get a lopsided game. We get a higher total with a bigger spread, and we're going to want to target that for the favored team as well. In fact, for box checkers and for the Millie Maker Shark Chronicles criteria, we're typically targeting favored teams anyway. They land in the winning Millie Maker lineup more often. So let's focus on what works. And let's not try to get too terribly cute when we have good trends and good data pointing towards good results. If I look at the game board, I see a 7-point spread, which is kind of on the edge of that 7-point or less spread. 46.5-point total. It's over the 46. I'd probably still focus more on the Browns. If you're going to run this thing back, Allen Robinson is there. I don't know if you would run with a David Montgomery in a losing game script, but you certainly could if you're going to try to flip the game on its head and focus on this game. But as we go through the games, you'll find out you might not even key on this one too terribly much anyway. Do I expect Baker Mayfield to go off? No, because Baker Mayfield typically has not been throwing for a lot of tutties, right? He's got Chubb and Hunt in the backfield. Those are the guys I'd probably be keying on in this game. So it makes it a little bit less of a shootout, sexy stack type of scenario. And that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to let a little bit of better judgment creep in there sometimes and say, but this game, it may be a good game to target, but it doesn't really have the criteria I'm looking for those big quarterback wide receiver type stacks and running it back with another player or two for a shootout. Same thing with Baltimore. Minus 8-point spread, 50-point total. It's kind of on the borderline again. If I focused on anybody, I'd focus on the Baltimore Ravens. And you want something sexy for the Millie, you run a double tight end here. Put the tight end in the flex and run Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. And you've got yourself something, maybe a little Marquise Brown, a little Sammy Watkins, whatever, with some Lamar. You end up with a couple of pass catchers, run it back with the Hawk. Probably got something cooking there that has potential to go off. When I look over here at this game, the 45.5-point total is not that exciting to me. I'm not going to be targeted. Doesn't mean I'm not going to play any Bills or Josh Allen or Scary Terry down there in the garbage time scenario. It just means I'm not going to stack this game up with multiple pass catchers and quarterbacks and all running it back, all that kind of stuff. If I take some one-offs out of that game, so be it. Over here, a 5.5-point spread, 48-point total. This is a game I'd look at both sides of. 44 points and a 4. Nope. 42 points. Nope. 52. Yes. A 7-point spread. Probably more on the Arizona Cardinals than I am on the Jaguars. But, of course, if this is a game that is going high scoring and is keeping competitive and keeping Kyler's foot on the gas, keeping D-Hop out there catching passes all game long, then it's probably got a Jaguar worth rostering. O'Shaughnessy, maybe, if he's not too hurt, but your Chark or Chenault or something like that probably serves as a little bit of a comeback or a run back. This is a game I'd be targeting. This is a crappy looking game on paper, but bad defenses and bad teams sometimes lead to shootouts. 48.5 point total, -3 spread. I'd be on both sides of this game with some stacks in those larger MME contests. I'd be on both sides of this game, rivalry game, division game. This game can get flipped on its head. We saw what happened to Kansas City. Kansas City may come out pissed off. They may get flipped on their head. I don't know what's going to happen, but a 55.5 point total, I'm going to want both sides of this with under a 7-point spread. I don't want either side of this game over here with a 45-point total. Neither side of the Denver game with a 41-point total. Maybe some Melvin Gordon. Looks pretty good there if he's going to get all the touches, but I'm not generally targeting this game for stacks. 55.5 points here in LA. Very close spread inside 2 points right now. Both sides are viable. Same with the late game. 55.5 points, 2-point spread again for Seattle and Minnesota. These are game environments we want heavy exposure to. These are where we want our 3x2 stacks, even go quarterback, 2 pass catchers, and run it back with 1 or 2 of the opposing teams. And that's where you're going to really strike gold if that game goes for 60, 70 total points, right? So that's where I'm looking. I write these down on a piece of paper. Baltimore, Tennessee, Arizona, New York Giants, Atlanta, Kansas City, LA Chargers, Tampa Bay, LA Rams, Seattle, Minnesota, with those last 2 being game stacked hard. Those are the notes I'm making when I dive into my quarterbacks at my research station. And now we're going to really pick up some speed. I'm going off of the implied team totals. I sort that, click that triangle, sort A to Z, bring the big totals to the top, and I've got Mahomes, Murray, Jackson, Russell, Wilson, Brady, whatever. I'm going to measure this in a couple of different ways by the Millie Maker criteria. I'm looking again for the right game environment. That right game environment is going to have like Tennessee and Arizona and whatnot in it, right? I'm looking for the correct home team. That's Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford types. And then I'm looking for the favored team, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, if I'm using him, etc. And the right implied team total going over the 24 points, which historically leads to value. So I come down here and I would list anybody over about 24 points. These guys are all on my list, and this will shock the pants off of you. But when I add up those and look for the efficiency rating of quarterback rating, where I find this year so far, Mahomes is a top quarterback in efficiency. Kirk Cousins is. So is Danny Jones. So is Kyler Murray. These guys are hitting the QBR numbers. Tom Brady, of course. Sam Darnold's hitting the QBR ratings really quickly early off the start this season. And if I add those categories up, home, favored, implied team total, and QBR, I'm finding 4 possible box checkers. Mahomes, 4 stars. Allen, 4 stars. Stafford, 4 stars. Cousins, 4 stars. Tannehill, 4 stars. Baker Mayfield, 4 stars. Teddy Bridgewater, if he plays, 4 stars. Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Sam Darnold, 4 stars. Those look like a perfect 4 out of 4. But if I add in the kicker, under $8,000 in salary, that kicks off Mahomes, whatever. It brings in the Josh Allen because he's not on the QBR list right now, et cetera, et cetera. There's only one 5-star quarterback on the week, and it's your boy Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones? Is he going to be a cash game type of quarterback? Well, I'll tell you what, at this salary price point, he just might be. So stay tuned later in the week, and we'll see how high we get on Danny Jones. Because Patrick Mahomes is way more expensive than him, Danny Jones might be the guy. He's got all the boxes checked. It's a very, very interesting thing. When you go through this research process and you find this stuff out, you start landing on some of these players. And when I'm looking at running backs, I'm taking rushing attempts per game into account, sorting by that, Z to A, so I bring the big guys up top. I'm looking down into maybe the 13 range or so if guys are getting some targets and some receptions. These guys down in here, big receptions, brings them on the list. Like I'm going to leave Alvin Kamara off the list or Austin Eckler off the list, right? But when I go through this list looking for guys that are getting the work, getting the love, I'm also going to scroll over here and check their rushing attempts inside the 10. I want guys that are over 40 to 50% used inside that red zone. I want guys that are going to get the ball on the goal line. I want home and favored, and I also want game environments. And I also want the guys that are salary ranged somewhere under $8,000 for a running back. It tends to price us out of Millie competition because it hogs up too much salary that we can't really go get anything else in the rest of our lineups that is going to actually lead to an overall diversified lineup that has the potential to exceed value to the point it gets us into the Millie Maker winners. So I'm taking all of these things into consideration this week. And when I look at those guys, I'm finding Derrick Henry, again, 5 stars out of 6. Dalvin Cook, only 4 stars out of 6. Joe Mixon, only 2 stars out of 6. Monty, David Montgomery, 3 stars out of 6. Jonathan Taylor, 3 stars out of 6. Melvin Gordon, 5 stars. Derrick Henry, Melvin Gordon are the only 5-star criteria on this method of box checking. You've got a bunch of 4 stars. You've got your Dalvin Cooks, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Nobody's on him, but he's a 4-star back this week. Najee Harris, 4 stars. Chris Carson, 4 stars. These would be guys I'd be keyed on. If you're writing down and taking notes alongside, these are guys I'd be keying my research on and digging a little bit deeper into. When I come down here to wide receivers, I do the same thing, but I'm looking for targets. And I want over 7 targets. So anybody down all the way down into here, I actually used over 8, so I rounded up a little bit. Because I want red zone usage again, I want game environment again, I want the implied team total, which gets split. I need over 26 or 27 points. I need over 26 points if you're favored, and I need under 24 points if you're the dog. Why? Garbage time. Garbage time, garbage time, garbage time. Helps out those guys that are in losing environments on low-scoring teams that are behind late in the game. And I'm finding that if I look at the game environment, somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 of salary, the correct implied team total for a favorite or an underdog, and red zone usage, I'm finding a few guys that check the boxes. Keenan Allen this week only. He leads the league in targets and only checks 1 box. The 5 to 7K salary range. He's not in the right game environment necessarily. I guess he is with the Chargers a little bit, but he's not in the right game environment for implied team total. He's not getting the red zone love for some damn reason right now. And that is really what's going to make or break using him. He's a 1-star candidate. Stephon Diggs, 1-star candidate, too expensive. Deontay Johnson, 1-star candidate, and obviously dealing with a little bit of an injury. But DeAndre Hopkins, 3 stars. Calvin Ridley, 3 stars. Allen Robinson, 3 stars. Tyreek Hill, 3 stars. Cooper Kupp, 3 stars. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, 3 stars. Your only 4-star sweep of the board, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, 4 stars this week. I would look at the 3-star guys. I'd look to roster A.J. Brown again, and I'd be looking at digging a little bit deeper into the research for those guys. So again, write these down as we go because we're going to have to really, really fly to get this thing wrapped up. When I look at tight ends, I'm looking at things like the game environment, of course, like I've been preaching. I'm looking for the favored team, the home team, the implied team total. Again, over 26 if you're favored, under 24 if you're the dog. The game environment, again, the red zone targets, 3 to 5K, cheap, cheap, cheap. Gets a check mark in the box checkers criteria. And when I scan across these guys, I'm looking at Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, because again, I sorted these by targets. There's really not very many on this list. Mark Andrews doesn't make the list yet. Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, these guys don't make the list. Even Rob Gronkowski, with all of his touchdown upside. Yes, he's a playable guy. Tyler Higbee, playable guy, but they are not getting the red zone love. They're not getting the targets. They're not getting the combination of all of that to make them make the list. They're too expensive on top of it in some cases. Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, too expensive. But that's not the only criteria we're looking at because Darren Waller's a 4-star candidate this week based on the criteria I just listed off. Kyle Pitts is only a 2-star. Evan Ingram's a 3-star in that New York Giants game if he plays. TJ Hawkinson, 3 stars. Logan Thomas, 3 stars. Tyler Higbee, 3 stars. Your only 4-star play is Darren Waller, and your only 5-star play is, yes, Travis Kelce. The only thing that hurts Travis Kelce this week is his salary. That's it. You could roster him. He's a great cash game roster every single week. So is Darren Waller, to be honest with you, regardless of what last week did. And then when we wrap it all up looking at the defenses here, there really aren't anybody to look at this particular week because we're looking for close spreads. This is something that if you can stick to those close spreads inside a 3.5-point spread with a 44 to 46 game total overall, and you pick the favored team. So favored team, 3.5 spread or under, 44 to 46 point game total. And you're going to end up finding that the Las Vegas Raiders are the only 3-star candidate making this list. That said, we're out of here for Box Checkers Week 3. Hopefully you run this back a couple times, take some notes, write those players down, and do your research because we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. Like and subscribe to the video on the channel, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out, homies.